Professor Abba Gambo. Professor Abba Gambo, we know flood disaster, affects farmlands and farmers across the country. How will that, in your own opinion, affect food security in Nigeria?
Good evening, viewers, and Jumai, thank you for having me again. Now, let's go a little bit academic. Flood actually means excess water in a naturally dry land. So when you're talking of flood, it means excess water in any dry land. But then when you're talking about the causes, I think the number one thing that we should consider are the trees. If you have more trees, there will be less flooding. And if you have less trees, there will be more flooding. In most cases, you see that when the flood overcomes everybody, you see people clinging to trees, telling you that the trees are actually kind of life saviors. Then, and secondly, and most importantly, agriculturally, the trees have a kind of physiological ability to absorb all the water in a particular environment. But if the trees are not there and the water keeps flowing, then definitely you're going to have a flood. And over the years, the major casualties to flooding in Nigeria are the farmlands and the farmers and their families. It might happen in the night, and then you don't have the ability to go and remove whatever that is on your farm, even if it is time of harvest. Instead, you'll be thinking of evacuating your family and whatever you can pick in your house to a safer place. But then, by the time you see the magnitude of farmlands that are being destroyed, especially in those flood-prone areas like Kebbi, Kogi, then Benue, Adamawa, etc. And coincidentally, all the flood areas are the major food-producing areas for this country. Like rice, for example, Kebbi is the #1 producer of rice. And Yahudi in Kebbi State produces about 3 seasons of rice. But then, the kind of things that are happening. I read the Nigerian Meteorological Agency report, their forecast for this year. And they mentioned about 27 states with plenty of local governments. What actually surprised me is they mentioned Borno and they mentioned Gubbio local government. Gubbio local government is at the most northern part of Borno State. And they have less than 3 months of rainfall per annum. 3 months, less than 3 months. All agricultural activities must start and finish within the 3 months. Now, Gubbio is expecting flood this year. So you can see there is a kind of, it's not like where you have rivers, no. Or where you have plenty of coastal areas, no, beyond that. And then we're talking about food security. We're asking the farmers to go back to the farms, give them all the necessary incentives, the hybrid seeds, the fertilizers and everything. But then if at the end of the day, water will come and flood everything out. I think most of the crops we consume, the only two that can stand water flooding for more than 1 week is sorghum and rice. But every other crop cannot have the ability to survive flood or submergence with water for more than 1 week. Definitely. There is this photosynthesis that goes in. You need the carbon dioxide from, and then you fix and the atmospheric, and then you need the sunlight, etc. So by the time you put them underwater completely, they would all just die off. And then still talking about the food security, the flood system has to come into view from the agricultural aspect. These 3 days alert, this 1 week alert or 2 weeks alert, we should go beyond that, honestly. Like in Maiduguri, nobody gave us any alert that Alo Dam is going to flow tomorrow. But then we just woke up, it started in the night. You understand? And then so many things happened. All the croplands from Alo up to Jere, Kondega, etc., all of them were submerged. And these are areas that are major food producing areas in Borno State. So it came in the night. Who will go and salvage whatever? No. You just think of moving with your family. So agriculturally, if the floods warnings are not constant and then should be translated into local languages, because you always have everything in English being fished out. What of the localities, the communities that we are talking about? So there has to be a kind of translator that will give those messages in that particular local language. Every state has a radio station. Every state has a television station. So translate the language into the languages of that particular environment so that you can give them enough warning. Some crops can be salvaged if warning is good enough. But then in a situation whereby you give 2 days warning and you said flood is going to overtake this particular environment, are you going to salvage your family and your properties in the house? Or are you going to your in-laws' place to make sure that they are also safe? Or are you going to go to the farm to make sure that all your crops are saved? So it's a very dicey situation. And I think we, as a government, the federal government and the states, I think we have to be more proactive, sincerely. We have to be more proactive. Most of these things can actually be controlled. And plenty of the issues with flooding are man-made. Apart from climate change, another major reason is man-made. You see people planting where water is passing. You see people building where everybody knows it's a waterway, and then you expect that the water, when it comes, it will change channel. Water doesn't change its channel. So
the water will always find its way.
It must find its way,
yes.
definitely. So whether it's a farmland full of rice or whatever, or whether it's a house or whatever, it will just crush it and then keep moving. And you know the force of water, actually. It's so forceful. Water has plenty of force within it.
Indeed, water has plenty of force. We saw what happened in Moka and Borno State. You know, Borno State, although it was a dam, but Moka, you begin to wonder, you know, when these things happen, how do these people survive? And let me come back to Mr. Jabu, you know, have some tweets here now from Obasi. And I'm sure that Professor Gambo will be able to respond to that. He said, how can Nigerian universities and research institutions contribute more effectively to national flood management strategies? Professor Gambo.
Thank you very much. That's a good question, actually. And I actually wanted to say something about it. Now, talking about policy, you know, most of the policies are developed in Abuja. And the people that are going to suffer the consequences of all the flood we're talking about are in rural communities. Now, when you say you want to do a public hearing, and then you said somebody from my native Borno should come to Abuja, maybe has never even been to Abuja before. So for him to come and talk about his immediate environment, most especially those people that are living along the Alo Dam, etc., they cannot come. So we want a situation, I'm begging, policymakers, please, why don't you go to the main areas and hear the voices of those people that are usually the victims? That's going to assist you in your policy formulation, and it will make implementation easier. Then secondly, before I answer his question, there are 3 things I saw during the Alo flood, Jummai, and honestly it's so devastating and horrifying. 1, the elephant from the Sandaki Arimi Zoo was seen on the street.
Yes, even the crocodile, I saw a video of that.
The crocodiles and the snakes were all out. And then a particular incident that somebody told me, when the flood water started in the night, the woman was pregnant. So as she saw the water all coming up to her legs, there was a kind of induced delivery. So people were holding her. Then all of a sudden, she delivered into the water. While she bent down to pick the baby, the flood water took the baby and the mother with the umbilical cord and everything away. So we have to be very serious with what we are doing. Now to his question, the policymakers don't think about the universities. Sincerely. And I'm speaking on behalf of all the state, federal, and private universities in this country. Research is supposed to be demand-driven. You come and ask us. We do plenty of researches, Go to our shelves. Every lecturer has plenty of researches, but then it's demand-driven. If you do not ask, you cannot get. So we want a situation whereby whatever policy that is being formulated, get the particular professor from another, or just as university staff, make sure that the university system and then the research institutes, plenty of them, like under the Agricultural Research Council, there are about 17 different research institutes in all the facets of agriculture, root and tuber crops, oil palm, horticultural, etc. They are all there doing plenty of research. So you have to bring them in. And I want to thank Obasi all again for bringing this to the purview.
Yes.
If you do not call us, we cannot come. If you do not invite us, we don't get crash. We're so comfortable in our campuses, and then we do our research with our students. And then, you know, publication of research is the major guidance to our elevation in the university system.
Yes.
So you have to keep conducting researches, and then by the time you get your promotion, all the research findings are at the desk. So please, all the policy organs are with me here.
Yes.
Make sure the universities are part and parcel.
Okay.
And the research institutes of policy formulation.
We have a caller from Jos. Back to the ecological fund now.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the ecological fund properly, but I just want to say that there has to be, like Danjuma said, a kind of paradigm shift. You know, when you look at the agencies, governmental agencies, controlling all these water issues, you see a kind of overlap. So we just have to get it practical. There has to be a kind of synergy, very definite synergy amongst them all. We are talking of a country of 92 million hectares. We cannot be talking of 18 hectares here that we did this. No, we do apologies to you, Director. Honestly, 92 million hectares, and you're talking of 10 hectares here, 10 hectares there. It doesn't sound well, definitely. So we just have to have a kind of paradigm shift. Let all these water agencies, so many of them, let them come together, form a synergy, so that all this, the kind of focus we're talking, you see, it's not just agriculture, it's not just about lives. Aviation is affected by flooding. Power is affected by flooding. Telecommunications is affected by flooding. And then apart from that, road transportation, you saw bridges from some of the, especially in Kebbi, bridges are collapsing, rail lines are collapsing. So it's a kind of huge magnitude, definitely, Jumbai. So we just have to make sure that we put our house in order for those water agencies. Let them come together, find a single platform that they can give us. And it's not the kind of, like I told you, a 3 days warning, 2 weeks warning. Even neighbor cannot afford to move within 2 days, definitely. Even though they've done a wonderful work at the Alau Dam when it happened, but then let truth be told. So many agencies doing the same thing, plenty of overlap. I think the bureaucratic red tape need to be broken for things to go better. And finally, I want to say that, you know, flooding actually is a great advantage to us in agriculture.
You said that one time, and I asked you why did you say that?
Yeah, the reason is not the kind of coastal flood or the pluvial flood, but then this flash flood, especially in the northern parts of the country, you know, we have what you call the Fadama areas. Areas with thick vertisols, clay soils.
You mentioned Kebbi now, and somebody is calling from Kebbi. Shamsuddin, you can go ahead, turn down the audio of your TV, please. Shamsuddin, if you can hear me, go ahead. Shamsuddin.
Yeah, okay, yeah. My name is Shamsuddin Shetima. I'm calling from Kebbi, Benin Kebbi. I think that is the hometown of the, yeah. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. We have recommended so many efforts. Yeah, okay. We have recommended so many efforts from NEMA, actually. But I think if we can look at the Yawuri tissue, which we expect NEMA to fully participate and then make an effort Yeah, because we have a lot of complaints from people from that sector. Yes, they said they need NEMA to participate well. And then, secondly, sometimes, hello?
Okay, Shamsuddin, I think we sort of get your point there. Professor Gambo, are you going to land or?
Yeah, I want to land as quickly as possible.
Yes.
So like I was saying, you know, we have this kind of Fadama areas. Coincidentally, I did my doctorate degree at Usmanu Danfodio, Sokoto. Within the university at Sokoto, you have two rivers. You have the Sokoto River flowing within the campus, and you have the Rima River also flowing within the same campus. So for you to now enter the school, you must pass these two bridges. A flood happened, and both bridges got broken. The food on campus finished. Students they cannot move out. Parents cannot come in. Lecturers cannot move out. Bread became something else. So I heard of people that had to rush through the other side of Sokoto, go through Ilela, enter Niger Republic before coming out all over again. These are the kind of scenarios we're talking about. So under such scenarios, you don't need 2 days. You don't need 3 days, honestly.
You need months to prepare.
You need months, definitely. And that's why the NIMED prediction, I'm happy with it because it came out in January. And what I have been talking, I read the report, I'm talking about their assessment for just July and September. That's all that I've been talking. It's just about their July and September, really. But then, like I told you, when the flood happens, those soils now absorb the water, and then we use them for wet season. You know, we said for us to get food security, there has to be 2 seasonal farming seasons.
Dry season.
The rain and then the dry.
Okay.
And then such floods actually assist in the dry season farming.
Okay, Professor Gambo. Dr. Kana.
Yes, thank you,
Professor Abba Gambo, Department of Crop Production, University of Abuja. We appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Dr. Kana Abubakar Ahmed, geologist, GM, Nasarawa State Water Board. We appreciate your insight into this conversation. I hope that your state will continue to upgrade.
Something, if you have allowed me just 3 seconds. That issue of executive arrogance
yes.
should be curtailed in this country.
Okay.
So that when you reduce executive arrogance, then people that are occupying government positions should be able to be free to speak the truth.
Okay.
To power.
Okay. Thank you so much. Kunle Awa Jemila, Deputy Director, Erosion, Flood and Coastal Management, Federal Ministry of Environment. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program. I appreciate your time, and I hope that everybody watching, stakeholders will be able to take something away from this conversation we've had today. And remember, it's national, humanitarian, and developmental. Thank you so much for those who called, and we appreciate our reporters who sent us report to push this conversation forward. And on behalf of the crew, I am Juma Yusuf. Thanks for watching Tuesday Live.